Hi friends, welcome to the next episode. This episode has been named as Every Digit Counts because this is on water resources, water resource management and the application of GIS and especially a particular web-based GIS portal that has been created and maintained by the Water Resource Department of the Government of India, which is WRIS. So that is why the title has been like that. So now we will see what is meant by water resource management and how it can be achieved and how the GIS technology can be effectively used for that particular purpose. Water resource management or the water management that requires a good understanding of the geographical space and related spatial information such as water sources, terrain surface, watershed, land cover, land use, rainfall, temperature, humidity, soil condition and composition, geology, conditions on the atmosphere, human activities, environmental data, etc. So when we go through all these parameters, it is very clear that it is space and spatial information is very much essential in order to understand the data related to water. So it is the spatial information and its handling is very much nicely done by the GIS technology or the geoinformatics technology as a whole, and that is the reason why we have selected this topic and that is how we will be seeing this. So water management is simply not about water, but it is about the terrain as a whole. What are the water sources? What are all the sources of water, whether it is surface water or groundwater? Then what is the nature of the aquifers, whether it is hard rock aquifers or sedimentary aquifers? Then how is the terrain? What is the terrain surface, whether it is completely composed of hard rocks or is there any large soil cover? Then whether the watershed based studies are possible, then the land use and land cover, whether what much change of land use has taken place and what is the land cover, whether it is completely of forest land or like that. Then the meteorological parameters like rainfall, temperature, humidity, etc. will have to be considered. Then the soil condition and composition of the soils, then the geology, conditions on the atmosphere, especially in the new era of climate change, we have to be careful about the atmosphere also. Then the anthropogenic activities, various activities of the humans that is influencing all these parameters which we have seen so far, and also the environmental data. So all these data sets have to be taken care of and all these data sets have to be seen in a spatial dimension or in a spatial perspective. So for that, GIS is the best platform doing for water resource management based on all these kind of spatial data sets. Then coming to the water resource of India. So what is our potential? So as far as India is concerned, water resource of India are quantitatively large but significantly divergent in their occurrence, distribution and utilization. So we know that starting from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from east to west also we have different geologic formations. So we have, when we go from the south, we have the lateritic aquifers of Kerala and some parts of Tamil Nadu and the coastal Karnataka, and that is up to the Malnad region where we have the Western Ghats, and then we have the Deccan Plateau, then the coastal sediments and the tertiary sediments of that is Andhra, then Tamil Nadu, then the Kadapa formation, then the Vindhyan sediments of central India. So like that, and then when we go to the west we have the Kutch area, so where we have the sandy formations, then the fertile lands of Indo-Gangetic alluvium is there. So everywhere the groundwater condition is different and definitely that will be reflecting in the surface water also. So the climate is also variable, so the diversity of the country of the India as a whole is also reflected. Just like that we have the diversity in the groundwater conditions, or the water resource of India is also that much diversified. So their occurrence, distribution and utilization of water resources is also very much divergent in nature. Then when you see the annual precipitation, the annual precipitation aggregated as 4000 kilometer cube with utilizable resource of 1122 kilometer cube. That is, even though we have 4000 kilometer cube, that is for the entire country, that is the annual precipitation when you aggregate that, but only 28% of that is utilizable form, that is 1122 kilometer cube is only in the utilizable form. So, out of which utilizable surface water resource are 690 kilometer cube and groundwater resources are 432 kilometer cube, that is out of the 1122 kilometer cube, the 28% of the total. Again that 690 kilometer cube is the surface water resources and groundwater resources are 432 kilometers. So, just like we have seen in the title, that is, so we have to be careful while utilizing these resources, because we have already left out 72% of the total aggregate of precipitation, and with the 28% which is again divided into surface water resources and groundwater resources, when we utilize that, we have to be, we should take utmost care, because the diversification of the distribution of the resources is one of the prime reason for that, because we are not getting the same, say 690 kilometer cube of water is not distributed that is in the same way, that is in a uniform manner, but that is entirely diversified in nature. And also when you come to the quality of water, it is again different, that is the Kadapa system or that kind of limestone aquifers are there. So, saline water intrusion is a major problem along the coastal aquifers. So, like that many parameters are there which is controlling the water resource of India. And according to the National Commission for Integrated Water Resource Development, basins wise average annual flow in Indian river systems is 1953 kilometer cube of water, that is basin wise average annual flow of water, that is we are considering only surface water. So, this much amount of water is flowing through, that is a surface runoff through the river basins of India. Then India is endorsed with a large network of 12 major river basins covering 256 million hectares, then 46 medium river basins covering about 25 million hectares, besides other water bodies like tanks and ponds covering 7 million hectares with the ultimate irrigation potential of 140 million hectares. So, that is just like we have seen, that is surface water potential, groundwater potential, these are all we have to see in different, that is differently we have to see that. So, the basin, the total 12 major river basins are there, so that they are comprising, they are giving 256 million hectares. Then 46 medium river basin covering about 25 million hectares, and then other water bodies are there. So, this is the scenario, that is, and when you, so that is the availability. So, when the water requirements, when you go for the water requirements, Indian water resource utilization mostly dominated by agriculture sector, we know that is agriculture sector nearly accounting to 422 kilometer cube, that is around 69% of the total water use is by the agriculture sector, and 300 kilometer cube from surface water resources and 128 kilometer cube from groundwater resources. That is, this out of this 428, that is 300 and 128, that is how it is divided, that is surface water resources and groundwater resources. Then to meet the increased food production requirements and to achieve food security, the agriculture sector would command a quantum jump in water utilization and is expected to be in order of 708 kilometer cube by the year 2050. That is, now we know that 428, from 428 to almost double, 708 kilometer cube by 2050. So, that is why the water requirement will be, that is the pressure of that is population growth is also there, then the agriculture productivity is also there. So, we have to be careful about that requirement in future. Then coming to the domestic water requirements, that is around 25 kilometer cube at 5% of total usage, out of which surface water contributes 7 kilometer cube and groundwater contributes 18 kilometer cube. That is, we know that is much of the groundwater resources are used for freshwater resources which are used for domestic uses. And then with the significant urbanization of population, it is expected that around 54% of population would be living in urban areas by 2050, that is more than 50%, around 54% in urban areas. So, we can imagine the pressure or the thrust, the stress that will be exerted on the groundwater resources of the urban areas. And the domestic demand to 90 kilometer cube, that is, we know that is the domestic demand is high, that is going to be that is multifold. So that will be there. So we have to be prepared for that. Industrial usage is in the order of 15 kilometer cube, which is likely to grow up to 103 kilometer cube by 2050. That is, every sector will demand manifold increase in the demand for water. Let it be agriculture, let it be domestic usage, let it be industrial usage. Everywhere we may need multifold amount of water, amount of water in all these sectors. The total water requirements of the country are expected to be around 1450 kilometer cube by the year 2050, which is significantly higher than the present estimate of utilizable water resources potential at 1122. That is, we have seen in the first slide, that is 1122. 1122 kilometer cube is the available resources, and the necessity itself will touch 1450 kilometer cube by the year 2050. So that gap has to be filled. So what type of management can be there? It is estimated that Indian groundwater overdraft is of the order of 66%, which places food and livelihood security at great risk and could lead to 25% reduction in India's harvest. That is, an overdraft of about 66%, that is, as far as the groundwater is concerned. Now, surface water is available there, but we know that groundwater is considered as the freshwater resource, which is being exploited for domestic purpose and also for other purposes, but that is already running on an overdraft of 66%. And that could lead to 25% reduction. That is, this is going to affect the food and livelihood security, and that they are going to be at great risk, and that could lead to 25% reduction in India's harvest. That is going to be affected in the long run. That has got great consequences. The per capita availability of 1820 meter cube that is according to 2001. That is fast endangered, with teeming population at likely fall to 1191 meter cube by 2050, getting precariously closer to water scarce condition. That is, we may feel that there is a scarcity, but that is going to be aggravated by year 2050. A water scarce situation is going to be there as far as India is concerned. What is the reason for this? Or if you go with the problems which are responsible for this kind of an anomaly, that is, we have water, but we have scarcity also, and that scarcity is going to be increased. We have surface water, we have groundwater, but we are depending more on groundwater. So this kind of anomaly, what are the major reasons for that? One thing is spatial and temporal variations in availability. That is, as we have seen, there is the spatial variation, that is, it is not in the same way. There is no uniform distribution of water resources, and it is not possible also, because the geologic formations are different throughout. So the water holding capacity of laterite will be entirely different from that of basalt, and that will be again entirely different from the sandy soil. So that spatial and temporal variations are directly related to the geologic formation that make up the aquifers. So that is one reason. The spatial and temporal variation is also there. That is, the monsoon that is hitting the coast of South India that is during June, that will be reaching the north, and that will be coming back, and we will be getting the northeast monsoon, and that is the only time when the coastal Tamil Nadu and other parts of Tamil Nadu is getting that is rainfall. So in that way, there is diverse situation as far as the rainfall is concerned. So that will be reflecting in the spatial and temporal variations in the availability of groundwater or water resources as a whole. Then definitely with the increasing population, there is a falling per capita availability of the country. That is second reason, the second problem that is there. Then expanding multi-sectoral demand. That is not only one sector, everywhere the demand is increasing. It can be domestic area, it can be industrial, it can be agriculture, all multi-sector, the different sectors are having more demand for water. Under and inefficient utilization of irrigation potential, that is another reason. Under and inefficient utilization of irrigation potential. Then loss of surface storage due to reservoir sedimentation, that is another area, because we have different dams and reservoirs, but reservoir siltation or the dam siltation is a major problem, or the reservoir sedimentation is there, and that sedimentation is causing loss of surface storage. So that is also, that is more amount of water will be escaped as surface runoff because of the decrease or the decline in the storage surface area. Then the frequent floods severely affecting the flood prone area development. That is, the frequent floods are there and they are severely affecting the flood prone area development. Flood prone areas are, that is under development because the frequent floods are there. So we have to manage, we have to see that, that is, these areas can be managed efficiently. Then at the same time, some areas are having drought. Recurring drought is the major problem in some other areas. Then overexploitation and depletion of the groundwater resources is taking place on the other side. Deteriorating water quality and environment, that is, these are all related things, that is, overexploitation is there, depletion of the groundwater resource is there, then deteriorating water quality and environment. So these are closely linked, that is, environmental degradation and water quality is very much closely linked. So these are all the problems, and now we have the problem of climate change and its impact on water resources. So the problems are plenty. And now we have to go for the solutions, and we have to see how and what is the role of remote sensing and GIS or the geoinformatics technology as a whole in this scenario. So we have listed, we have seen the problems, and we have seen the resources, we have seen the demand. Now how we can utilize them, how we can manage them, how we can manage them, that is, in a sustainable way, utilizing these technologies to achieve maximum water use efficiency, and to cope up with varying water resources availability conditions, real-time information on various aspects which control and influence the supply and utilization regimes are to be obtained. So that is an important thing, because the data that is available for, that is available from, for years, that is there in the textbooks, or I mean in the different tables and data log books and all. But the real time monitoring of that, how far it is clear and how far it is monitored and how far it is updated, that has to be checked and that has to be identified. Then the satellite remote sensing and other geospatial techniques, they are promising to be potential tools to aid water management decisions. Systematic approaches and studies involving satellite remote sensing techniques have supported scientific efforts of water management. So this is where we will be utilizing this technology, systematic approaches and studies involving satellite remote sensing and other techniques, also other allied techniques we will be utilizing. And then why we are utilizing that, why we are using that, what are all the advantages of geospatial technology for water resource management. First thing is that measurements derived from remote sensing are objective, they are not based on opinions. That is the first and foremost thing. The first and foremost thing is that measurements derived from remote sensing are objective, because we are measuring it. We are measuring and we are getting a first hand information that what is the groundwater potential in this particular area. You have the reservoir area and what much area is covered with water and what is the depth of that reservoir and how it varies. So that variation can be measured on the field itself, and this data, the coverage of water, that can be measured in the field, that is from the image itself. So we can easily come to a conclusion that what much amount of water is available there. Then second thing, the information is collected in a systematic way which allows time series and comparison between schemes. That is, we know that is when monsoon comes or when rainfall comes, what much is the increase in the levels of water, that is water levels in the dams and reservoirs. So that is, we can measure it on a timely basis, we can measure that, we can go for statistical analysis and comparison between schemes. So that can be done. The third one is remote sensing covers a wide area such as entire river basin, grounds, that is for an entire river basin we can do the study. Otherwise the problem is that groundwater studies are limited to administrative boundaries. So one block or one panchayat or one village will be studying the area coming under their part, and then other people are doing on the other side, but as a whole that cannot be done by the administrators because the constraint of administrative boundaries are there. But when you are utilizing the remote sensing technology or the special technology, you can the entire river basin can be studied as a whole. Then planning can be planning can be carried out, or planning can be done accordingly. So ground studies are often confined to a small pilot area because of the expense and logistical constraints. So that is there. So as far as remote sensing is concerned, it is not there. So you can see all the area throughout for the entire river basin we can do the study. So that is the difference between the field study and also the study using remote sensing. Then the fourth one is the information can be aggregated to give a bulk representation or disaggregated to very fine scales to provide more detailed and explanatory information related to spatial uniformity. That means that is whether you want it for the whole country, so it is available. That is from major river basin, the data from major river basins can be aggregated, or if you want it for individual watershed, that is also possible. So watershed based urban development, that was the scheme. That may be carried out, or that can be done. So for individual database, to that scale also it can be extended, or if you want it in a small scale for the entire basins, that can also be done. And the fifth one is information can be spatially represented through geographic information systems, revealing information that is often not apparent when information is provided in tabular form. That is, when you show that in tables and charts, it may not be apparent, but when you see that visually, that is for the entire country or for a particular village, so what is the availability of water, what much is required, when you see that spatially, that can be spatially represented through geographic information system, that is revealing information, and that will be convincing. So as we say, seeing is believing. So that visualization is possible, and we can create models, we can create future scenarios, so that will be more convincing. And when coming to specific applications of remote sensing GIS in water resources, the overall applications of remote sensing and GIS in water resource sector can be broadly categorized into the following sections that we see. That is, first thing is the water resources assessment. That is, what is the ground, say let it be water resource, let it be surface water or groundwater. So how it can be assessed, water resources can be assessed. So what much is the potential of a particular area. So is there any give and take by the surface water and groundwater, that is the transfer of water between surface water bodies and that is groundwater bodies, and is there any that is whether all the water that is available are equally good, whether the quality deterioration is there, is there any quality variation as you go near to the seashore, like that. So all kind of water resources assessment can be carried out, and that can be represented. Then comes the water resources management, how economically or how that is what you can say, how systematically the water resource can be managed. So water resource management is the next area wherein these two technologies or this geoinformatics technology as a whole can be carried out, or that can be applied. And the third area is water resources development. So when you know the potential and when you know what is the present situation, we can go for development of the water resources. So that is the next, water resources development. Then coming to the watershed management. So the watershed management is directly related to sustainable development of any region. So sustainable development is done through watershed management. So for that again we can utilize the remote sensing and GIS technology. Then the flood disaster is a major disaster that is happening in, especially in the snow-fed rivers of North India, as far as the North India is concerned, and also some other areas. So that can be, the flood disaster support can be easily given by the data set that is derived from remote sensing and GIS. Then EIA, or the environmental impact assessment and management. So that can be carried out, especially for this flood disaster and also for the projects and also for drought prone areas and the management of water resources in the drought prone areas. Then water resources information and decision support system can be created. water resources information decision support system means it is a compilation of all kind of information which is required for decision makers. So for different types of different levels of administrators, starting from Prime Minister and coming to the village level officers, they can utilize that system. So once it is fed, and when because then everybody knows, and that can be made available to the public also. So people will know when there is a change in a single digit in the water level or single digit in the measurement of rainfall, how it is going to reflect in everyday life of each and every one of India. So that can be identified by applying this technology. And now we will see what type of technology is available, what are all the technology that is already in hand, and how far we have utilized this. So such a system is, now we are just seeing that is the WRIS India or India WRIS. That means it is the application of web enabled that is GIS, that is India Water Resource Information System, that is already there, that is it has already come. It has already come and it is already being applied by scientists and administrators, and that is called WRIS, which stands for Water Resources Information Systems India. And that is nothing but it is a web enabled system, and it is the project generation of database and implementation of web enabled water resource information system in the country, which is short named as India WRIS WebGIS. It is named like that, India WRIS WebGIS, is a joint venture of the Central Water Commission, the CWC, Ministry of Water Resources, Government of India, and Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, and Department this ISRO, which comes under the Department of Space, Government of India. And it is a nationwide water resource information system because it has got many themes, many stakeholders are there, many are providing data to that, and a number of people are using that data for their decision making at various levels. Containing all aspects of water resources and related data have been designed to provide data and information in public domain through India WRIS WebGIS portal. A portal is already there, so anybody can access that, and people can make that is username, and we can log into that, and you can download the data for research purposes, for decision making purposes, study purposes and all. So India WRIS provides single window solution for all water resources data and information in a standardized national GIS framework. So a single window solution, we can say in that means all kind of data sets are available. So if you want to analyze that, so it is in a GIS platform, everything is specially coordinated, all coordinates are there. So if you want to do any kind of analysis, all standardized data sets are available, so that further analysis can be done. And it allows users to search, access, visualize, understand and analyze comprehensive and contextual water resources data for assessment, monitoring, planning, development, and finally integrated water resource management, which we call as IWRM. So what is the benefit of this is that if you want that the entire data in tabular form, that is available. If you want to see that in map format, maps are available. If you want to see that in the river basin format, it is there. Watershed basis, it is there, and all that is, if you want to see that in that is satellite image format or map format, everything is available, and it is possible to access the data, visualize the data, understand and analyze comprehensive and contextual water resources data. So that can be utilized, or that can be done for assessment, monitoring, planning and development. So that is there. So there is a nationwide system is already there. So what are all the data sets that is already there with this WRIS? So what is the activities that is being carried out by this WRIS? First is the data collection, generation and presentation into the portal are continuous activities. Different stakeholders are there. Central Groundwater Board is there, Central Water Commission is there, many state units are there. So all this data is there. So the project website India WRIS WGIS, the version 1, 2, 3 and 4 that were launched on December 10, 2009 and December 7, 2010, March 22, 2012, December 4, 2012 and March 28, 2014. So these were all the dates, that is when the different, that is the WRIS WebGIS, different versions have come up, and now it is the fourth one, that is WRIS WebGIS version 4 is there, which has come on March 28, 2014. However, the updation of spatial and temporal coverage of the existing version 4.1 is a continuous process that is there. That is, the existing one is 4.1 and that is being updated, and there is another part of for this, the India WRIS Wiki, that is a collaborative knowledge sharing web interface for sharing updated information regarding the various aspects of the water resources of the nation. Apart from the spatial layers, that is like the maps of different that's any type of maps, that is, say if you want the data set in terms of state level data is available, and village level, I mean district level data is available, taluk level or block level data sets can be downloaded. And apart from the spatial layers, information is also available in textual and image format, and the rainfall data or the water level data that can be downloaded in Excel or any kind of textual format, and maps can also be downloaded in image formats. India WRIS Wiki provides a platform to link non-spatial information with the spatial layers. So people can download that. If you make a link, if you make a username and password, anybody, any citizen of India can download all the details and he can use it for research or decision making purposes. And the data has been collected from various sources like the annual reports of the Central Water Commission, Technical Advisory Committee TAC reports, project progress reports, etc. So each group of data is compiled on separate pages that are interlinked with references as well as modification history. So metadata is available for each page. India WRIS Wiki has a number of tools like keyword based search, track changes, interactive GIS maps, India WRIS, Bhuvan, Bing, Open Series maps, etc. Then image visualization, help, sitemap, print, etc. Various options are available, so we can utilize that for any kind of studies and analysis. So when we see the different categories or the different links that is provided in the India WRIS Wiki, we can see that a number of data sets, the number of information that is available. Otherwise we would have to surf the net, even if we go through the net also, internet also if we utilize. So we'll have to go to individual websites. So now the linkages to India's water wealth, major and medium irrigation projects, hydroelectric projects, multi-purpose projects, interstate projects, irrigation and power complexes, headworks, that is dam, barrage, weir, anicut, lift, etc., basins, state, rivers in India, inland waterways, interbasin water transfer links, CGWB, that is Central Groundwater Board, CGWB groundwater resources, CWC, Central Water Commission, hydrometeorological sites, flood management, legal instruments on river in India, then water tourism, interstate disputes in India, and large dams in India. That is like this, a number of links are available, and that is providing beautiful information on the water resource of India, and they are provided in such a way that if you want the spatial data, maps are available. If you want the coordinate data, that is if you want the attribute data, that is available, and all the attribute data is provided with beautiful coordinate information also, so that we can utilize that for other analysis. So if anybody is interested in surface water bodies, that is there. So water utilization, water demand, everything is that can be studied in a beautiful way. That is, all type of information is available under different heads. So everything has been brought under one head, and just like we had seen before, there is it's a single window solution in a way that is we can find some kind of solution, doing beautiful analysis that is possible by utilizing the GIS technology or geoinformatics technology. And as just like that is a single window, that will definitely pave a new way as far as the water scenario of India is concerned. The different stakeholders will be benefited with the data available for use, and it can be utilized for other areas also. The planning of water resources utilization and management of the same will be highly appreciated when used with the geospatial technology tools. So it is this platform that is being developed, that is being given by, or that is being presented by India WRIS. So each one, that is, we can, if you want to go for conservation of water, what kind of, that is what are the methods that we have to adopt, that we can decide, because we have all the terrain information. If you want to work with water scarce areas, so what is the nature of water resources available in that area, that is also there. So in this way we can study everything, that is, we can go for research, we can do analysis, because everything is given in a geospatial platform. So, in that way we can study the analysis, and that is the beauty of this website WRIS, which is a WebGIS enabled site, WebGIS enabled data sets. So, in this way we have found that there is every digit will count definitely as far as groundwater is concerned, as far as water as a whole is concerned. So, we have to we have to act accordingly, so that we can utilize the available resources in a that is in a sustainable way, so that in future also we will not be troubling for water. So, with that we are concluding this episode on water resources, that is every digit counts. Thank you for watching.